let's get on to the main album this month that we are reviewing, and this is Bryan's fault. We are reviewing the self-titled third album from the American rock band 311. Don't call us 311 or 311. They are 311. The album came out July 11th, 1995, and is their most successful album to date. It has gone triple platinum. And the singles did very well, as did the album itself. The album itself peaked at number 12 on the Billboard 200. And Bryan, it peaked at number 1 on your favorite chart, the Billboard Heat Seekers chart. We know
the fakest chart of all time. The Billboard Heat Seekers chart is the fakest of all of the album charts.
Bryan hates the Heat Seekers chart, but
I don't hate it. It's just fake.
Bryan, you want to hear an even faker chart? We somehow have never encountered this chart before. They had 2 of their songs, Down and All Mixed Up, both appeared in the top 40 of the Hot 100 Airplay chart.
Oh, I get that one. I do.
Oh, you're good with that one? Okay, all right. Because so for those of you who don't know, the Hot 100 is based off of Airplay, album sales, and single sales. This is back then. Now it's based off of album sales, digital sales, and Airplay. But they have a separate chart just for the Airplay. So 311 were maybe not moving as many albums as other bands, but Down peaked at number 37 and All Mixed Up peaked at number 36 on the Hot 100 Airplay chart. Down also peaked at number 1 on the Modern Rock Tracks chart. All Mixed Up peaking at number 4 on that chart. Don't Stay Home at number 29. The album itself ended the year 1996 at number 56 on the Billboard 200. So that was a full year after it came out. That's because Down blew up. Don't Stay Home was the first single in 1995, came out with the album on July 11th, and then Down was released as a single on July 9th, 1996, and that's what really launched the band into their sort of superstardom. They made their late night television debut on Conan O'Brien in 1996. They also appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman. And, they've had a very good run, Bryan, 311 have. I was very shocked, actually, at how good of a run they have had over the course of their life. But we are looking at their sort of self-titled album, the one that sort of feels like they give it credit for blowing them up. Now, Bryan, did you have, what was your, I'm very curious to hear your history with 311, because this feels like this would have been right around when you were getting into nu metal, and I feel like this would have probably been a pretty divisive band in your sort of circle. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, yes, but let me ask you, no, not actually divisive in my circle. We all hated them. But let me ask you one question here before we move on. Have you ever heard of the artist Rufus Du Sol?
Yes.
Song called Surrender?
Yes.
You have heard of that?
I have, yep.
Okay. Well, it's number 1 on the Heat Seekers album charts right now.
Were you trying to prove that I've never heard? Well, I guess I feel like I've heard Surrender. Surrender is, I know Rufus Du Sol or Del Sol or whatever the fuck, because of the video game Fuser. It's where you get to be like a DJ. It's like a video game where you get to do your own like sound mixes and shit. And Rufus Du Sol is like all over that game. So that's how I know who them are. I don't know if there's more than one person or anyway.
What about Giveon? Giveon.
Yeah,
Take
I know.
Time.
I know Giveon because he just did a song with Drake.
You lying motherfucker.
I'm not lying.
He's lying over here.
That's true. I'm not lying. He's from the UK. I know him.
All right. One more time. One more time here. Oh, God. Okay. He's number 1 for a while.
You don't want to say? Is it
Giveon? It's Giveon or here.
Giveon,
let me look this up. Here, what's the date of this album coming out? 95?
This is July 11th, 1995. Yeah.
July 1995. And then we're going to put an 11 in there. All right, let's fucking take a look, see here and see. I'm just going to see if we know this.
Okay, any of the Heat Seekers bands? Is that what you're saying?
Okay. It's Frog Stomp by Silverchair. Was this time. Okay, well, hey, maybe the Heat Seekers album chart is real. Fine.
You're coming around on the Heat Seekers chart?
Listen, all I know is that Opie and Anthony had a shitty prank call album on the Heat Seekers chart. And I don't want to sit around and think about them being successful at anything, really. So that's all. That's it.
Well,
fine.
Yeah, so it depends, Brian. So what the Heat Seekers chart is, because I didn't even know until I looked it up, it is once you have a song in the top 50 of the Hot 100, you're no longer eligible for the Heat Seekers chart. So it's meant to highlight like new artists and breakthrough artists and stuff like that.
Okay, that's a very fake chart. That's like a participation trophy chart. That's what I'm calling the Heat Seekers chart. The participation chart. All these millennials, they need a fucking a chart topping hit, I guess.
They just got to say, hey, we are on the Billboard. We are on the Billboard charts, you know?
So in 1995, May of 19, or maybe April, I don't know. The month doesn't matter. In 1995, I saw my first concert. And that, as I've said on here before, is Korn, opening for Megadeth and stuff like that, whatever.
Fear Factory.
And then Fear Factory and Flotsam and Jetsam. So that was my first concert. I think like in 96, maybe, I saw Cypress Hill, and opening for them was Farside, which they're pretty cool, and 311. And so I did see 311. I moshed to 311. I said, wow, this 311's really cool from in the audience. I was like, wow, these guys are fucking, they kind of go. This is like a guy rapping. There's, some shit. And I was like, this is pretty, this is all very exciting for me, this 311. Then I heard Down on MTV. And I was like, well, I don't like that very much. And then I heard All Mixed Up on MTV and said, nope, not for me. This is not a band for me. No, thank you. I think something I need to say to clear up is like, I was a Sublime fan. Okay. But I did not get into Sublime until 2000. I think very late. I got into them when I was like 20 because I was like, oh, well, it's not metal, but it's like you got to have some kind of culture. So I'm into Sublime now.
In Ohio, Sublime it's having culture.
This is like being into reggae.
Yeah. Reggae done by white guys. That's the culture in Ohio.
This is as close as it gets. Okay.
Hey, look, I respect it. I just think, it's funny to me because I could see that. I could see 311 feeling different in a live setting where the guitars feel a little bit heavier and maybe, you're out in the sun or you've had a few drinks. You don't even necessarily realize that you're being like reggae pilled. You're just like, oh, yes, this is like pretty heavy. This is like kind of sick. Plus, probably like I know this from back like. Oh my God, my XLR is such a piece of shit. Sorry. I know from being in a band I was in this like dramatic indie band, I would say, in like the early aughts, or I guess the mid aughts. We were kind of like Explosions in the Sky ish. And I know sometimes we would play bills with heavier bands, or like, for example, at the time, one of the best shows in Whistler, which is a ski resort about 2 hours outside of Vancouver, was called The Punk Show. And it was like once a month, every Sunday at a bar up in Whistler. And it was a really good show. And we got asked to play it, and we were not a punk band. And so when we'd play those shows, we would purposely play our heaviest songs. We would play them a little harder, a little crunchier. It's not hard for me to imagine 311 kind of doing the same thing where they go, okay, we're on a bill with these heavier bands. Let's really lean into sort of how heavy some of these songs are and make it feel a little bit more new metal-y than when you put on the record and it's a little bit more like
well, I think their strategy was a little different because it was Cypress Hill and Farside.
Right,
and Farside's
fair enough.
A rap group. And I think their strategy was like, we're in Ohio, we're playing with these rap groups. Maybe we'll try to do something a little heavier for these for these rap kids.
So it seemed heavier in comparison to the rap. So then you're like, oh, this is heavy. I like this. Got it. Yeah, right. Sorry.
And
I was mixing up that show with the other one. Yeah.
I was also, I do have to say this too, John. I was, up to that point, I was higher than I'd ever been in my life that night.
Okay.
On weed, because like, people were just passing. First of all, I brought 6 joints to the concert. It wasn't an all-day festival. It was a regular concert. And I brought 6 joints to it.
Fully expecting you were going to smoke all of them?
I did smoke all of them. And then when after we finished smoking all these joints, me and my buddies, I just started walking up to people and getting in on their rotation and hitting their joints too. It's like you're at a Cypress Hill concert.
Yeah, sure. You know what you're getting into.
Smoke as much weed as you possibly can.
You have to respect their culture. It's just like when you see 311, you respect the culture of Jamaica. When you see Cypress Hill, you respect the culture of weed.
I'd also never been around so much weed in my life.
Right.
Just I'd never even seen the amount of like, it was so, dude, on the way into that concert, they search you, but they did not see, because I just put all my joints in my pack of cigarettes with my cigarettes. So like they open it up and look and then close it. They just want to make sure it's all cigarettes. And they didn't catch it. But there was like a box next to them where if they found weed, they threw it in the box. And it was just this box full of weed. It was really, truly an incredible amount of fucking weed.
They just give it to Cypress Hill?
I was wondering that, or if the people that work there all split it up. I always thought it was kind of chody for the guards to like look that hard. It like bugged me that they like looked hard enough to find any. Like if you're doing security at a Cypress Hill concert, maybe do your job a little shittier. Don't work so fucking hard.
I will say, like, I remember, so I've talked about my first concert on the show before. It was Incubus and 30 Seconds to Mars. And I remember, like, obviously I'd been around weed before, but I've also probably talked on the show, like, I didn't drink. I still don't drink. I didn't smoke weed. I still don't smoke weed. I drink it, though. But yeah, I don't smoke weed or anything. And I didn't back then, but I had friends who did, and I was around it a bit. But I think like no one really told me about like weed use at concerts. And I remember that being one of the things that like really stuck out. And Incubus isn't particularly like a stonery band. I mean, it was the Morning View tour, so I guess they're a little bit stonery, but it was just like, I was just shocked, actually. Like, I was 17 years old. It was one of those, it was just a strange, I was like, wow, like everyone here is smoking weed. Like, this is just a thing that people do at concerts. Like, it kind of blew me away. And I just can't even imagine on a level of like a Cypress Hill or something. Like, I'm trying to think of the show I would have gone to that would have had the most weed smoked at it. Cause I haven't, maybe like Pusha T, maybe. Would be like in that conversation. But yeah, I just remember that was one thing that like really stuck out to me going to my first show. It was like, oh, everybody just like kind of smokes weed at concerts. That's fucking weird. I it's fine. It didn't bother me or anything. It was just like very interesting. No one really told me that was what was going to happen. And I was like, whoa, oh, he's smoking weed. He's smoking weed. Oh my God.
On my way to the show, my brother was like, people just fucking smoke weed at these things. And I was like, what? No fucking way. I'm going to try and get in on some of that. Fuck,
well, that's good. It's good you had
weed.
someone to warn you and like get you excited about it, I guess.
But 311 again, like my first impression of them was like, these guys fucking rule. You know, I may not have ever heard. This may be before I learned about Limp Bizkit, you know?
Right.
And I think
311 probably would have been for sure. $3 bill y'all's 97, right? So yeah.
Yeah. And I do think like 311 like was my first Limp Bizkit in a way, where it was like I see this thing in concert, and I saw Limp Bizkit way before $3 bill came out. They opened for Korn a couple times, so I had seen them, and when I saw him I was like, I can't believe it, this guy's fucking rapping. But I saw 311 before that, you know,
right?
And this is when like my taste in music runs from like Cypress Hill to Korn to Pearl Jam to Stone Temple Pilots to Bush, shit like that, because there wasn't Pantera, because there wasn't like this whole bunch of new metal out there to listen to. So seeing 311 the first time was almost kind of a transformative experience and felt like, holy shit, this is the future of music.
I mean, there are definitely still some very white guys in New England who think that 311 is the future of music, but yeah, no, I can get that for sure. I mean, I think when you think about the bands that even we've covered on this show that sort of have that reggae influence, I would say like Crazy Town, P.O.D, obviously, with their whole reggae jam, and then of course you talked about Sublime, a band we'll probably never cover on this show, but you know, I think that was like almost its own, and I guess Red Hot Chili Peppers to an extent had a bit of that too. It was kind of its own genre in a way, where it was this sort of like repackaged, heavier version of reggae. It was really interesting, and I could see 311 being a band at this time, especially where people would have felt like, whoa, this is so different. This is like really, this is really different and cool. For me, 311 was like a joke band when I got into new metal. Like by the time I got into new metal, right? Because like I didn't get into it until 98, 99. And I was like very aware of 311, and I was very aware that they were kind of just like a joke band to people. Like there were definitely people who felt like, you know, who would make jokes about them and be like, oh, they're kind of like wimps, or they're like their music is weak or whatever. And I also feel like, and I could be totally making this up, but pardon me, I want to say that that like new metal bands kind of openly shit on them too. Like I feel like they were a band that would kind of get made fun of by the, you know, not maybe necessarily by Korn and Limp Bizkit, but they were just like a band that sort of came up as like a band that other bands made fun of. Am I right in saying that? Do you remember that at all?
I don't remember it at all. I think like for me, because of like the type of fan I was of this kind of stuff, it was just hearing all mixed up, like fucking hit me in exactly the wrong way. I think seeing them live though, and them having two singers, that's what I think that'll grab you, you know, like any band with two singers is going to be like, whoa, what the fuck is going on over there? And also, here's another thing. They're rapping. Yes, it stinks. But if you see it live and you don't know any of the words, it probably sounds fucking really cool. You know, like you don't know what anybody's saying when you see a concert, but these fucking guys, like the way they're saying stuff is kind of cool. It's just once you start to hear what they're saying, you're like, whoa, slow down. That's not cool.
I hate this. So you said,
I don't hate it.
No,
I just think it sucks.
Well, I mean, those are somewhat equivalent, but like, okay, so
no.
So Okay, all right. Well, take me back to 95 a little bit just before we get into our sort of how we think about the album now. So with you and your friends, like you said that it wasn't divisive because you all hated them. Where did that sort of come from? So you came home from the concert and you thought, oh, this is a great band. I'm going to check out more of their shit. You checked them out. You hated it. Was that a similar experience with your friends, or were they also kind of like a joke band to your friends in the way that they were to mine?
I think what hurt them more than anything in the world, because like I said, I didn't really check them out. You know, I didn't like give them a chance. I saw the video for Down and All Mixed Up, and I was like, what does this fucking guy look like? You know, like he's just unnerving to look at too. And whoever the singer is, Nick Hexum. I know. Yeah. People find him handsome or whatever, but
yeah, he's a hot guy that people like him for that.
Well, to an Ohio guy, he looks abnormal. To me, I'm like, ugh, okay, whatever, dude. But like, I think what happened is like the drama kids at school were like they liked 311, and like whatever they liked, it was like, nope, I don't like that. I don't know why you're saying I would like that. Like the drama and band kids, because 311. This band, after finally listening to them after all these years, after listening to 14 of their songs, you know, they're a band kid band. They're like kids that are in band at school are probably really into 311 or were.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have good players, right? Like, I think that's evident in the music. Like, it's, you know, I think the drummer, Chad Sexton, very good drummer, I would say. And I think that, you know, there's some pretty fun, like, bass and guitar lines. The bass player is called Peanut because he has a small head. Yeah, don't like it because they don't even call him Peanut like Peanut. It's P-nut. So, and you know how difficult it is for me to, you know, be speaking in this realm of peanut, but I think I'm passing the test so far. So that's always positive, but yeah. So, I think I agree with you, Brian. I think they're a band I could see. I didn't have these conversations, but they're a band that I could definitely see people saying, well, but the music's really good. You know, like that kind of, it's almost not that they're like this band at all, but I feel like they would be kind of like a Tool, similar type of conversation you'd have with people where you'd be like, I don't like Tool. I don't like their songs. And the band / drama nerds would be like, but the song is in 7/8 and the fucking drummer is unbelievable. He's the best drummer in the world. And the bass player is insane, man. And I feel like 311 also has a little bit of that where their music doesn't feel necessarily that complicated, but if you listen to it, you can tell that they're like quite talented musicians, I would say.
I do want to say that like this is a safe space to talk shit about Tool. I mean, I don't like Tool. Tool's not a nu metal band. Therefore, fuck Tool. You know, but
well, you're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna get in trouble for saying that. I like about 5 Tool songs, I would say. But it just that to me is the way that like people talk about Tool too, where it's like that's not really a justification for like that's not going to change anybody's mind. If I'm like I don't like Tool and someone's like, but the drummer's so good, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah. Hook it to my veins, baby. Like it doesn't, that's not a valid argument for winning anything. It's like if you say a movie's really bad and someone's like, but the acting was really good. It's like, I hated the movie. The movie was shit. I don't care. I don't care how the acting was. It's like there's always, every year there's like people who get nominated for some acting performance for an Oscar. and like the movie's just fucking dog shit, but it's just like, it's like boring and slow and terrible, but it's like, oh, but the acting performance, I don't give a fuck. The movie sucked balls, man. It's like, you can't, it's the same thing. You can't, that's not a way you can win an argument about bands, in my opinion, even though I'm sure I have made that argument before myself because I'm a douche, but like, I'm just, you know, like it just doesn't feel like the right way to win an argument. But I will say that I do agree that, like, I think if you were into 311, and you're into music, there's stuff there like for you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah. I mean, they might be good. And the difference between saying like, I don't hate it and it sucks is that, like, I like a lot of stuff that sucks. Like,
yeah, we just talked about loving Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, I don't hate this shit. It's just, it's some of the goofiest shit I think. I know this is the goofiest shit we've ever talked about on this show. For positively sure, this is the goofiest album we've done.
I agree, and I think so. So you and I try, you know, before we record these episodes, we usually will talk about the album a little bit. I think we stay away from talking about it too much because, you know, we obviously don't want to be doing the review in text messages when we know we're going to sit down for an hour and a half or so and talk about it. But I will say this time around, you said two things that made me laugh. And this was on two separate days. This wasn't one conversation. So I think we often, when we talk about goofy shit on this show, the two things we always bring up, or the two songs we always bring up, are Droppin' Plates by Disturbed and Reggae Jam by P.O.D. And you said this whole album is like an album of reggae jams. And I was like, well, that is probably how 311 would describe it themselves. They'd spell jams with a Z, obviously. And then the other thing you said is, I think this is the most embarrassing band that we've ever covered. And I think I agree with you on both. Like, it's weird in that I didn't think this album was I didn't think it was bad even. I wouldn't even say this album is bad. In fact, I found it like pleasant to listen to. I didn't love it. I'm probably not going to listen to it again, or not that often, but it was pleasant to have on. Like, we've done albums on the show that I actively fucking hate while I'm listening. I'm like, it feels like a job. You're like, I got to listen to Puddle of Mud one more time. I got to listen to Crazy Town one more time. It feels like a fucking chore. This album is a breeze. It doesn't feel like a chore, but I do agree there is something to it where you're like, this is like, I'm almost like getting secondhand embarrassment for the guys in this band while I'm listening to this album they made almost 30 years ago.
Like, for me, it's like I'm remembering like bad shit I did in the past. You know, like where like maybe you had a bad set or a bad joke, or like just, you know, you had a podcast that you did once that it didn't really work out, you know, like the Around the Fur episode of this where I was all zanned out and fucked up. Like, I just spend all this time thinking like, oh my God, man, I've done a lot of embarrassing shit in my life. Like, this is really fucking embarrassing. And some of the lyrics on this I'd be curious to see if their lyrics are still like this. I think, like, because they were,
because they're still making
20s.
stuff. Yeah.
I would be curious about what their lyrics are in 2021, because the lyrics on this are fucking crazy, man. They're just.
Yeah. Do you want to hit us with some examples? Because I know you've been dying at this all week.
I got one that I did cut out of their lyrics page so that I could remember it, and it was the first year I touched ground.
Yeah, I literally have this up right now. So I'm not even joking. Whatever lyric you were going to say, I'm like, I'm going to say this. Brian's going to say a lyric, and then I'm going to say this one after. And we are doing the exact same one. Okay, go ahead.
It was the year I first touched ground. So I grabbed the microphone and I got down just like James Brown. Gather round of our sight and sound. Pound for pound, we throw down, rather profound. I'll put you in another world. I can't hear you, like having phone sex with a deaf girl. That is bad. And not
so bad.
I'm not saying this is, hey, that's a problematic lyric, you know? No, it's just like bad. It's just a bad lyric. This is like sucks.
It doesn't. Yeah, it sucks. This is from the song Brodels, which is just a term that they made up for like a bro. And it's really funny because I was like, I'm pretty sure Brodels means what I think it means, where you're just like, yo, what's up, Brodel? Like that's what I felt like it meant, but I like wasn't 100% sure. So I was trying to look it up. And then on songmeanings.com, there was an extremely funny reply because people are in the comments on Song Meanings being like, Brodel, like that's a really shitty word. Like it sucks. I don't care for this word. What does it even mean? Blah, blah, blah. And someone just like, it's very earnest, but I also hate it. So the chorus of this song, for those who don't know, is it goes, the Brodels is the Naz, and the Naz knows where it's at. The Brodels is the Naz who knows a cat who can feed a cat. The goal is to be a poet and a carpenter, to be one who loves, to be one who works. The Naz not something that can be given. The Brodel is inside you. It comes from within. So this is the person wrote, I've never quite understood why this one hasn't become a fan favorite or a regular on the band's set lists. It has all of the elements: hard guitars, interesting lyrics, funk. A Brodel is a true friend. The Naz refers to a monologue by Lord Buckley titled The Naz. It can be found here, and then they link it. It is a retelling of the story of Jesus of Nazareth. In this case, the Naz seems to mean the teacher, the magnetic one. Therefore, the true friend is the teacher. One lesson seems to be about learning how to balance life and art. As the chorus states, the goal is to be a poet and a carpenter, to be one who loves, to be one who works. So the Naz they're talking about is Jesus of Nazareth? What? How
that
high?
Makes me sick.
How fucking high do you have to be to be, first of all, talking about how your friend's super cool, like Jesus of Nazareth, and then abbreviating that to the Naz?
Yeah. It's the Naz, boys. Hey, Brodels, let's talk about the Naz. It's funny because, like, they probably wrote this song thinking, like, you know, man, people fucking start calling each other Brodels. It's going to be really fucking cool, man. Like, we're going to get along. We're going to start a new kind of thing. And if that would have happened, I would have been, like, really disappointed in humanity. Actually, if it would have worked, where people started calling each other Brodels, don't like that. I do not like that word. I
am going to start calling you my Brodel.
All right, Brodel.
Yeah,
Brodel. The Naz,
baby, the fucking Naz, dude.
That's just a sickening thing to sing about, really.
It really is. And then like the whole I guess this is the third verse, is so fucking bad. Like it's like this extended metaphor that just sucks. So this is after the Brodel is inside you. It comes from within. When I feel into the sea, when the world came and kissed me, transformed my shit, told the shark I was a dolphin. Swam quick funny, though, piranhas chilled and laughed at the way that I took off my polka dots on top of that. The whales know I'm quick, watch out, and I get funky fresh. As for the fishes, I'm lit luminous. I'm not nouveau techno, I glow like a glacial. In skin that swims faster than speed I am, I dropped out of nothing, I will return to nothing. Ah, God, it's just so fucking rough. And then the ending before it goes into the next chorus, this one is so bad too. I eat a Cobb salad, smoked fish, duck, or clam chowder. Chill with indica and Guinness, steer clear of the white powder. I run into my brother, give him a pound and a yodel. They know my word is bond, talking about the brodels.
Oh, golly.
I wish you all could have seen Bryan physically recoil at that.
They know my word is bond, talking about the brodels. And here's one from the song Random.
Okay.
And I reserve the right to be as trite as I want. And you can kick it, but don't bite. And you can lick it, but don't bite. I toss you here to Vermont. I kick it lickety split and hand it to the man in the tan van. And as for you and your crew, I don't hate you. Peace is my priority because Marley said it for surety. So that's, a lyric. Just do what you think I'm doing. I'm not only here for screwing, yo. So he, this is a song about, he'll eat pussy, I guess, is what he was really saying there.
Yeah, well, he gets down. Yeah.
I'll eat pussy, but hey, look, I'll eat your pussy, but I'm only for love, not just for fucking the thrill of eating your pussy.
Oh my God, man.
Fucking dude, man.
There's also a great, I can't remember which song it's in, but there's a great lyric where he says it's like it's something about like where we kick so much shit our shoes be stinking or something, and it's like,
that's great.
It's like, what does that even fucking mean?
So I guess I have to bring up, because the funniest song we've ever done is Dropping Plates. Reggae Jam, also very funny. But just for pure song title, like is guns, parentheses, are for pussies.
Yeah.
That is a hell of a fucking song title, if you ask me. Like, they were really, like, feeling themselves heavy when they said guns. Let's do a song about guns, but the guns are for pussies, because, like, it takes a real pussy to use a gun.
Yeah.
Or maybe this song's about eating pussy, too. You never know, man. Getting down lickety split.
No, I think it's about how guns are for pussies. Like, shooting guns. It's very funny too when you read the interviews, which we're going to get to later. They talk about how they're like against using hard drugs and stuff, and this also feels like in that mold. They're like, it's almost like they feel like in their mind they were like, people think we're really badass. Like, people think that we do hard drugs and they think we shoot guns, and we got to tell everybody that we don't do hard drugs, and guns are, not only do we not shoot them, we don't like the people who shoot them. Guns are for pussies.
Yeah. I mean, it does feel like, hey man, it feels like a guy, sitting down, turning the chair around and sitting on the chair and saying, like, you think I'm cool, right? And then you're supposed to be like, yeah. And he's like,
yeah, man. Yeah.
Don't use hard drugs. I don't. So if you want to be cool like me, don't use hard drugs. Don't have a gun. They're there for pussies. Don't be a pussy. It
also
that's
feels
what
like
this feels like.
Well, they're from Omaha and they moved to LA. So this also, before they like got big as a band. So this also feels a little bit like, look, we're from Nebraska, dude. We don't shoot. The only thing we shoot with guns out there are deer and birds. We don't shoot people, man. Yeah, there's a really great, I mean, this is really good. These are some lyrics from Guns Are for Pussies. And yes, I took a trip to find out about the ways of big city, seedy bars and drugs that make you feel shitty, pretty older women in skirts, conversation frisky, stinking cigarettes and plenty of bourbon whiskey. Sad classical music on the jukebox of doom, Hollywood Boulevard barfly frolic room, tomb of lost souls, some beyond salvage, some just having fun opening the steam valvage.
Ugh, no matter this rude boy still got that swagger. My ears have heard all these crews, but we're badder. Interracial, special, positive beings. I be a cool awakening. Wow. Wow, 311. Those are some fucking jams right there.
Again, they're jamming, dude.
The songs, though, are not unpleasant.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not unpleasant to listen to at all. In fact, I found it downright pleasant. I had it on. I was like making food. I had it on in my car. I was playing video games. All of it. I was just like, this is easy. This is easy to listen to. And this is maybe a controversial opinion, but I think the songs on this album that are the best are the ones that are more reggae-ish. Like I think All Mixed Up and I think Don't Stay Home and Purpose, to me, are the best songs on the album. And those are the ones that tend to be a little bit more in that sort of sublime reggae funk kind of zone. I think that at least at this point in their career, it feels like that's what they were better at, to me.
Yeah. And that's probably all of what they're doing now. There's no way they're doing these raps still.
I mean, and probably they have a guy who's just a rapper, so I would assume they are.
But he's probably doing the "Watch Me Now" sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Watch me now, take a ba 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 la ba da ba ba dum. This is the best I can do.
I liked it, man. It was good.
Watch me now, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
The British version of it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, pleasant enough music, but not the lyrics they're next level, really. When you wanna hear bad lyrics, it's all 311, baby. I mean, this is real dropping plates level stuff. For the whole
time
thing.
The whole time, yeah. There's nothing good. There's nothing good.
You just hear it's weird, man, because you're like listening. You can't understand every word. You're not going to get every word for every song, but you just catch like a sentence and you're like, oh my God, what did he just say? And then, you'll be like having phone sex with a deaf girl. That's the first one that really got me. Like, wow, okay, that is weird. It does look like they still do songs like this. I'm not listening to it, but just looking at the lyrics, they take up the same amount of real estate that the lyrics from this album take out.
That's what I'm telling you, man. I think it's the whole thing. It's weird too, because I guess, and maybe they did this on later albums, but one thing that surprised me, like we were saying, it's the whole album. Like they don't have a song on here. Like you would think, because we've listened to, obviously a ton of these new metal albums now. We've listened to a ton of singles from these new metal albums. A lot of these bands, especially ones that sign with a major label and that are trying to have this sort of breakthrough. I don't think 311 was on a major. I think this one actually came out on, Capricorn Records, which I've never even heard of. So I'm assuming that's not a major. Yeah, independent record label. So it's not. So, whatever. But it just is interesting to me that they don't have even one song on here where they were just trying to go for it, be popular or have a single. I know Down was pretty popular and All Mixed Up and stuff like that, but there isn't a clear song on here where you're like, okay, they cleaned up the raps, they cleaned up the song. This is the clear single on here. They're trying to get radio play. It's just the whole thing is the same. It's just bad lyrics, bad rapping, weird.
Yeah, I was looking. I have them up in the People Also Ask page.
Yeah,
they have What Are 311 Fans Called? And it says 311 Nation is a bigger name for all of our fans, but a certain crew of hardcore fans is known as the Excitable Ones. So count me in.
Count me in, baby. TheExcitableOnes.org. Head on over, check out the fan club. Well, couple things before we get to the articles too, Bryan. I don't know if you're familiar with this. Well, I know you are because I told you about it, but 311 also has a day. They very cleverly noted in the year 2000, so it took them like 10 years of being a band, that March 11th in the States is written as 311. And so they proclaimed it 311 Day. And they now do a big concert every year on March 11th to commemorate 311 Day. And it says every other year on March 11th, the band performs an extended concert for thousands of their fans. And Bryan, I am not joking you when I tell you that the third one of these that they did in March of 2004 at the Uno Lakefront Arena in New Orleans, the University of New Orleans Lakefront Arena, their set was 68 songs.
No, I can't do that. I can't live that way. That's Dave Chappelle shit, man. When they're like, Dave Chappelle came in and did 4 hours of stand-up, and I'm like, who wants that? Who would ever want to see 4 hours of anything?
Yeah, no one. 68 songs. 68
songs. That
by
is...
311. I could maybe see Radiohead play 68 songs. I'm not interested in seeing 311 play fucking 68 songs. You kidding me, dude?
Yeah, they're like 3.5 minutes long, but like 68 is a lot for any length of song. So yeah, it does 68 fucking songs, dude. How self-indulgent is that? Is that like a 24-hour concert? I'd love to know how long that was.
It's got to be an absurd number. They actually filmed one of them. They did one in 2010 and they did 60 songs. And they were broadcast on that wasn't the one. It was from this one in 2004. They played 68 songs. The band played entire albums, rarities, and covers. Later that year, a DVD was released of the performance that contained 64 of the 68. Just in case you felt like, man, I missed out on that 68 song performance. I wonder what the 4 were that they cut. They must have been really bad.
That slurs in them, probably.
Yeah, probably. Guess. Yeah, that's a good call. And
Can't put those on it.
So now they've started splitting it up into multiple nights. So the last one they did in 2020, I guess this is kind of this would have been like just before COVID really took hold, because this was March 11th, 12th, and 13th of 2020. They were celebrating 30 years of 311. So they performed 103 songs over 3 nights. 103 different ones. So they played 33 on night 1, 34 on night 2, and 36 on night 3. And people went to all 3 and watched 311 play all 103 of those songs.
Abso-fucking-lutely people went to all 3. And then we're like, I wish there was a 4th day, man. I wish there were 4 days. I wish we could see every song they've
ever done. Yeah, they're going
to do that. They're going to do a cruise where they're going to play every song they've ever done.
Yeah, they do cruises. They do cruises for sure. They're a big cruise. They do the 311 cruise. I was telling Dan, this is only the second time I've ever seen Shooty's Groove show up on this show, because Shooty's Groove did the first 311 cruise.
That's perfect for them, though. I bet Shooty's Groove and 311 they're like a really good sort of crew. Is 311 and Shooty's Groove. They're not. Remember their shirt? I can't remember what their shirt said right now. But,
it was just they had all the genres crossed out, wasn't it? It was like punk was crossed out, hardcore was crossed out, and it was like Shooty's Groove or something.
They're just Shooty.
These are the bands that played the festival in May 2012. Enjoy this list of bands, Bryan. The Dirty Heads, Schwazy, Two Skinny Jays, DJ Soulman, Outlaw Nation, Shooty's Groove, Ballyhoo, Pacifier, spelled P-A-S-S-A-F-I-R-E, Cisco, spelled like the web provider, not Thong Song Cisco, Full Service, DJ Trichrome, X's of Evil, Trailer Park Ninjas, and Moral Defect. So enjoy the 311 cruise, folks.
I got excited when I heard Cisco.
I know.
And then boom, it's like, what? Come
not
on,
real,
man.
not real Cisco. So we have 2 interviews as well with 311. One from 1999 from IGN for Men. And then the other one is from 1997 and is a Rolling Stone profile. So the IGN for Men one is just a straight up interview, just question and answer interview. And then the Rolling Stone one is a full profile by John Wiederhorn. And the title is just called Good Buds. And then it says, on the road with the weed loving, record selling, good timing 311. And one of the members of 311 is smoking a ginormous blunt in this photo. And then Nick Hexum is wearing a shirt that's like the Adidas logo, but it says Indica. So they were clearly going for a thing. Bryan, were there some quotes in here that you pulled out and enjoyed?
I'm just going to do the IGN for Men quick one where he says, if you weren't in 311, you'd be blank. And then he wants them to fill in the blank with an alternate career choice. And Nick Hexum just says, working on computers. So, okay, dude. Cool.
You sound sick, dude. You sound like a sick guy, man.
I mean, I guess in you know, in the 90s, saying working on computers was actually something you could say. Little did he know we'd all work on computers.
Yeah, I also loved from the IGN for Men interview, they're talking to S.A. Martinez, who's the rapper in the band, and he says, the interviewer says, what kind of needles do you endorse? And he says, I don't endorse needles. Shooting up is for losers. And then he said, I do use Vestax mixers, though, or V-Stax mixers. Cool, man. Thank you.
Cool, dude. Yeah, man. Thanks for getting in there. As Peanut 23 relates the story, Hexum 27 and S.A. nod appreciatively and sip cans of Guinness, while Mahoney gradually slides down a couch cushion, his face cemented into a goofy grin. We like to smoke, but we're not endorsing marijuana, says the soft-spoken Hexum after 3 of his bandmates have fallen into deep slumber. We're saying, if you're going to party, don't do coke. Don't get drunk and smash your car. Don't do heroin. With pot, you could never get real stoned and then go beat your wife because it doesn't deaden things. It makes you more sensitive. So that's a really stupid line that a 23-year-old would say.
Very stupid. Very dumb.
So stupid. I mean, so many people use marijuana and do such evil things. I mean, sure, I have done some pretty evil. I've never beat my woman or anything, but I mean, I've used weed and did some dark stuff.
Yeah. I just had a couple more from the IGN one, and then I have some great ones from the Rolling Stone. Right after the working on computers line, I don't know why, but this answer just cracked me up. The question, first of all, is so dumb. It said, what kind of sound system do y'all travel with? Discmans, Walkmans, boombox, etc. And then Nick Hexum just says, all of the above and then some.
iPod. They had an early iPod.
Yeah, 1999. That made me laugh really hard. And then I love this IGN for Men. How are you coping with pre-millennial tension? Nick Hexum, we're putting out the welcome mat.
Yeah. I mean, if everything
whatever that
went
means.
Down in flames, you know, we're still welcoming it. We're good with it, man. Let's bring that millennium on.
I think this is the best quote we've ever seen, by the way, from a band. This one coming up from Nick Hexum. Love this. This is just so funny to me in a Rolling Stone article. We try to keep a really good attitude, says Hexum. A lot of people say, man, it's such a shitty time to be alive, but I can't relate to that at all. That just like you probably have a shitty life. You wake up every morning and you go pick up trash. But me, I'm in a famous band and I do not relate.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Amen, baby. That one just absolutely crushed me. Like I read that and I was like, that is so fucking funny to me. It was just so funny. Like, and then he goes on to like bash Kurt Cobain. He says, when I find myself singing about my problems, I think, well, who am I to complain? He says, Kurt Cobain should have felt that way. I have a big problem with the fact that someone could be given so much, yet still see the negative side in everything. It's like, okay, well, buddy. I don't know. I think it's time to slow down, Nick.
I like this too. To many critics, 311 continue to create a soulless and watered down hybrid of rock, rap, and reggae. We get dissed for being lightweight because we're happy, gripes Hexum, relaxing after a post-gig massage. But I'm talking...
Already, I can't relate to that at all.
But I'm talking about things in my lyrics that are important. Maybe if the great thinkers of past times like Buddha or Christ were alive today, people would say they were shallow because they were just talking about everyone being cool to each other.
That quote fucking blew my mind. I mean, how high of a guy are you? Man, you know, fuck, if Jesus was alive right now, people wouldn't even listen to him.
People call him a fucking cornball. People call Jesus a fucking cornball, man. You know, and I'm proud to be a cornball because cornball is what Jesus and Buddha would have been.
It is so good, man. I love it. This is really good. This one's also good too. This is just a classic, like a band that just doesn't know their limits, you know, like SA, not a good rapper. Like Hexum, discovered rap at an early age when he was bused to a racially mixed school. That's a line you'd only write in 1997. They
say that every time, too. Yeah. All of them said that.
His first rhymes poked fun at his siblings, and with a bit of prodding, he lets fly with some dope old-school rhythms, that's how they spelled it, about his sister. Chris is a bitch, breaking hearts. She don't care. She changes boys more often than I change my underwear. Well, I just love the idea that the Rolling Stone writer's like, come on, man, you got to give me a line about your sister, dude. Come on. And he's like, okay, fine. All right. And then
she has a lot of sex. Yeah. I also hated this line. They're talking about on the bus. On board, they watch Mariah Carey's seductive new video, Honey. As the singer swims, jet skis, and gyrates, Mahoney blurts out, seeing that makes you want to fuck her. Then you feel real guilty because she's so cheesy.
I'm imagining the guy from 311 having sex with Mariah Carey, and the whole time he's like, I'm selling out, man. I'm selling out. I can't believe I'm having sex with Mariah Carey, dude.
Hey, man, that makes you want to fuck her. Hey, watching this really sexy video makes you want to fuck her.
Yeah. Okay, I got one more. This one fucking also made me laugh so hard. So they were talking about working with this producer, Eddie Offord, who used to produce albums for Yes, I guess. So they lost. So they got in a fire. They were touring in an RV. The RV caught on fire, and they lost all their gear and the RV and whatever. So it says the band members lost all their gear, clothes, and tour money in the inferno. Regardless, they finished the tour with borrowed instruments and a new RV. But shortly after, the band ran into another career snag. As the group puts it in a prepared statement, Offord had some serious personal problems and health problems during the recording of Grassroots. He was drinking heavily and had really erratic behavior. And then his quote for this is unbelievable. Offord denies this and says, quote, 311 turned into very selfish people. They're great guys, but I think they started to believe their own press. They were like spoiled kids. And yeah, I pulled a few stunts on them. I won't deny it, but they deserved it. You know a guy is a bad guy when he calls it pulling stunts. That's when you know a guy's probably not I pulled a couple stunts on those boys, you know, but you know how it is.
Yeah. Oh God, these guys, man. I you know, I think that's all I have for them on that one. Like, yeah.
That's both of those articles are great. You should definitely check them out.
Hexum does claim to have hung out with the Dead Boys' Stiv Baders, which I know didn't happen. I just feel like that's impossible because Stiv is very cool. I can't imagine this dude hanging out with Stiv, who's also dead, but he was a good musician.
They have all these like weird lore facts. Like they got their start by opening for Fugazi, which seems like impossible that that is probably true. It's in enough of the articles about them, but it's like insane that first of all, their first gig was opening for Fugazi, who are a huge band, but then just also that Fugazi would have 311 open for them seems absurd to me, but, great stuff. Love them both. Great. Just a lot to talk about with this band, and I always love that. Bri, before we get on to the end of this episode, we do have to give this a score. For those of you who are new to the P.O.D. cast, what we do every episode is we give it a tweet defense score. So this is if someone were to tweet at us and say that 311 sucks, how many tweets would we do in defense of them? Bryan, what's your score for this album?
I'm going to give this album a 4.
4. Ooh, that's low. That's low for you.
But it's a charitable 4. I'm saying that it was okay, but not the lyrics. Just I can't listen to something this uncool. You know what I mean? It's just like such an uncool lyrics that I had to go heavy on them. And again, as we said at the beginning, I threw up earlier, and maybe I'm just in a bad mood tonight. 4.
Okay, 4. Well, I am going to. I'm just gonna stick with the theme, and I'm gonna give it a 3.11. That is my my tweet defense of this band, because I think there's a couple good songs that I could defend. I also think they're very funny, and I do think there is some value in a band being funny, even if it's like sort of embarrassing funny. It's still funny, and that counts for something. And then the 0.11 is I'm just like halfway through a reply and I accidentally hit send. So that's my 0.11 of a defense score. So that's my 311 tweet defense.